welcome to the Brain Scrub. My name's Glenn Sollers. Thanks for tuning into today's episode. Before I get going, I just need to take a deep inhale and a deep exhale. And the reason being is I've tried to record this probably 15 times now, and each time I find I get right into my head. And I have an old saying that I've created, and that is, in my head, I'm dead. In my heart, I become part. And especially when it comes to the topic that I have today, it's so important to me. And it's so important for me on this podcast to share my story, what I've been through, what I've learned. And as a human being, it's so important to grow, to develop, to help others grow and develop, to see how we are in this world and to make our best life possible by taking actions that are necessary. And quite often we may not know what actions are necessary, or we think we're living our best life, and then something just hits us and it rocks our identity, and then we might go into a tailspin of upset, disappointment. And that brings me to today's topic, which is recovering from toxic people. There are individuals in this world that are primarily for themselves, and they focus on themselves for various reasons. It could be because of insecurities they had when they were younger. It could be preservation. There's so many reasons why somebody just focuses on themselves and their needs and not considering the impact their actions have on others. And you could probably create a list of people that you know that you may struggle with, and they may be these types of individuals that I'm about to describe. Until I lost my first marriage, and the reason I say I lost it, because I thought I was the problem, and I thought I lost that relationship, but then afterwards I realized, wow, I was not necessarily the problem. I was likely dealing with somebody who has traits of borderline personality disorder or narcissism, and I know about their history, and I'm not surprised that they acted the way they did. But for me, being the person I am, and when I speak of things like this, everybody, we all have certain levels of narcissism and different things that are toxic behaviors. However, some of us don't recognize it, and we just do what we do, and that's our natural self. And we may wonder, why are these people doing it? Don't they get that this is not the right way to do things? It's morally incorrect. And people they just are byproduct of their genes, their childhood, different things. So in this episode, I don't want you to start thinking about that these individuals that exhibit these behaviors are bad. No, they're just doing what they know to do, and they're trying to live their best life. And many are not conscious, nor want to get conscious of what is it that they're doing that's creating challenges in their life. And I've had a couple of friends, including myself, go through these things. And I want to share today what I've learned according to my own experiences, according to ChatGPT. Yes, I did reference this in artificial intelligence. And I want to read off what they say in terms of how to recover from somebody who's being highly toxic in your relationship, or is highly toxic, and maybe the relationship's over, maybe it's still going on, and what one can do, because it is trauma. And it's not easy to deal with, and it's not easy to recover from these things that people do that may belittle us, that may use us, that may abuse us. It is rocking your identity and who you are and who you thought you were and who you thought the other individual was. And it can be such a devastating impact on us. And what I want you to do is, if this is you, is to think about, well, what can I do differently going forward? Otherwise, you may keep on getting into the same relationship dynamic. The thing to remember about all this is that, generally speaking, people who have the traits I'm about to describe look for people that are caring, empathetic, that give, that are friendly, that treat people well, that look out for other people, that have the best intentions and amazing morals. But what they also might do too much of is people pleasing and fearing being assertive. And these are some of the things that I've really learned about, that I need to stop being a people pleaser, because I've done that for my entire life. And that's how I survived at least one of my parents, who definitely was highly toxic in the relationship. And I learned to fear, be supportive, don't hold people accountable, don't speak up, don't share your truth, care for other people, try to make them happy. That's how I grew up. And the personality traits I'm about to describe like to feed off that, because they can easily win. They can easily manipulate, and they can easily get what they want and feel empowered and superior. And this is my point of view, but also this is what's written in the different traits that I'm about to describe. Now, by no means diagnose somebody by this, but I just looked up what are some of the typical traits of narcissistic people, and they have an exaggerated level of self-importance. They want to be admired. They are so focused on themselves that they lack empathy for others. They don't think about what other people are going through. They have this entitlement about them that I deserve this. They don't take blame. They feel that they're so superior. They'll exploit others for their own gain, and they'll be manipulative. They may come across as arrogant, and they have a very fragile self-esteem. Okay, so that's narcissistic personality disorder. The other one is borderline personality disorder, which includes unstable emotions or unstable need, a very unstable sense of who they are, a sense of themselves. They have unstable relationships or highly intense relationships. They're very impulsive in what they do. They have a huge fear of abandonment, and I'm not going to get into my story about my ex, but there's many things here that really align, and I understand why they have developed what they have developed, but unfortunately, I'm being impacted, as is my child. There's inappropriate and uncontrollable anger. They might be stressed, paranoid. They become dissociative, and they have chronic fears of different things. So you'd want to go through those points there and say, does this apply to me in the relationship I was in? So that's okay. You went through what you went through. Now it's time to move on. And what can we actually learn from these situations? What can we do differently? How can we move forward in a loving and caring way for ourselves? And I always believe that if you love yourself, people are less likely to hurt you because you love yourself. So when I asked ChatGPT this, it came up with these points. And a lot of these resonate with me. And the number one point is that one thing that we can do as people who have survived living with individuals like that is to start realizing that we need to get clear on our boundaries. Like, get rid of the shoulds, coulds, you should do this, you shouldn't do that. No, this is what I need. This is what I want you to do, versus language that might be a bit wishy-washy. What I had to really look into was that I never was clear on my boundaries. I never set boundaries, and I was easily pushed or ignored in terms of what I wanted. I was cast aside, and I never stood up for myself, which lacks self-respect. So to respect yourself, Understand, what are my deal breakers? These are the lines you will not cross with me. Things that you will not tolerate going forward in your relationships. And ensure you stand up for yourself and let people know. The other thing is to be willing to say no. It took me a long time to be assertive in saying no without any emotion. Now I have no problems. If I disagree with something, I'll let people know, no, I disagree with you. Versus falling into the trap of pleasing others and, as a consequence, not pleasing ourselves and causing ourselves stress. Number 2 is awareness of your needs. In these types of relationships, we might prioritize the needs of the other individual versus the needs within ourselves. And I definitely did that in my first relationship. I did what I thought she wanted. I wanted to make sure she was happy, because if she wasn't happy, there was anger and extreme anger to deal with. So I learned to be very fearful of expressing my needs. You also might discover that you have a strong need to feel safe, respected, and loved in a healthy relationship. In a lot of these relationships, we may feel like we're inadequate, that we don't belong, that we need to change ourselves, who we are is not good enough. And we may do that without being the authentic you and being okay with that. If somebody doesn't like who you are, then why are you with them? It makes no sense. I find in my current relationship, I can be who I am. And I feel much more content in my life versus running away from who I am. That is a big challenge. And thank goodness when I went through my first divorce that I did a self-awareness weekend, and I was set up for starting to realize what I needed to stop doing and what I needed to start doing. They also make a note here that you might develop a better understanding of your attachment style. Secure, anxious, avoidant. I'm not going to get into what that means, but it's something to look into. Number 3 is to recognize your people-pleasing patterns. People who, and I'm just speaking for myself, and generalizing it in some respects. People that are in these relationships tend to give too much. They tend to accommodate, and they tend to want to earn your love, that I need to do this to be loved by you. They also are generally conditioned to avoid conflict. Now, I spoke about this in a number of other episodes. Conflict, how we deal with conflict, is rooted in how we saw it unfold in our family of origin, childhood experiences. And sometimes we might avoid conflict, especially if you're in relationships like that you're not standing up for yourself. One thing that I've learned is you got to get into the conflict. You have to have the conversations, and not through texting, not through email, but through face-to-face conversations where you're dealing with stuff, which is not easy. I get very nervous when I have conversations like that, but they become very important. And for me, it's really helped the relationship I'm in right now, where she and I can actually talk about what's bothering us, deal with it. And again, it's not always fun to have these conversations, but I'm not going to give my self-love up for fitting into somebody else's mold in terms of what they want me to be. Number 4 is strength and resilience. Going through gaslighting, these emotional ups and downs, really helps us become stronger, helps us manage our triggers. There was one friend of mine who he and I have talked for a while, and we were just discussing triggers. And people will do what they do. They'll say what they say, but not to take it personally. It's not about me. However, if you're in a relationship where somebody is easily triggered by you, you might make it about you, but don't take it personally. That's their stuff that they need to deal with. So by understanding our triggers, by evaluating them, by understanding, I wonder where these come from, we become more powerful and we have more agency in these moments where we can start building resilience and to start trusting our instincts again, rebuild that confidence, rebuild our ability to guide ourselves and not need somebody else to guide us. Because in my relationship, I was trying to fit into her mold, And that didn't help me out too much because I just became frustrated, resentful, angry. I lacked confidence. I wasn't a strong boundary setter. I lost a lot. And I was accused of being unsafe, of being uncaring, where ironically, she was doing that to me because she was focused more on herself and her relationship with her son versus the fact that my son has a whole bunch of different relationships and it's not just between her and my son. Anyway, I'm not going to get further into that. That leads also, this whole trigger management, into emotional intelligence, which is number 5, and red flag detection. So you become better at spotting people who are manipulative, who lack empathy, or who want to control you. And you learn to stop for a moment, consider what's going on for me, what are my emotions in the moment, what am I making it mean, what do I need to do instead, and respond. This all leads to number 6 here, which is self-worth and self-respect. And in these relationships, when you're done, you start realizing, wow, I have tolerated a lot of abuse and I don't deserve it. I'm a valuable human being. And for me, I can easily look back in my childhood and see how I was treated unfairly and how I shied away from things, how I felt really alone at times because I had no self-worth or self-respect, because I felt based on the actions of my caregivers, that's who I was, and the teachers and my friends and different things. So by going through this, you can actually start rebuilding that and not sacrifice who you are, and to love who you are, to embrace that, to start seeing the value in healthy relationships, which is number 7. For me, I'm in a community of friends who I love dearly, where we reciprocate things, where we're there for each other, where it's not just about one person, the other person, that we have tremendous kindness between each other. There's no drama. There is a high level of trust and care in all the relationships that I have. And if I cannot trust somebody, or if they don't care about me, or I don't care about them, then why am I a friend with them? One of the reasons I got off Facebook is because many of the individuals there I might have known, but I don't have a close friendship with them. Is it that important for them to be in my life or to see what I'm up to? No, it's not. I have friends here in a community here that they're always there for me. I can always call my friends. So I now have healthier relationships, where before I was losing relationships because my ex didn't like certain individuals, would fire them, would say, nope, you're not going to be a friend with them, Glenn. And I never stood up for myself. Number 8 is healing old wounds. This has been my journey for the last 18 years, especially for the last 8 years. Since I've lost my son, I've been on a huge healing journey in respect to unresolved issues, fears, self-esteem issues, things that I could have done differently. Also self-forgiveness, understanding, realizing, seeing the bigger picture. Wow, it's been such a gift in some respects that I've grown as an individual to become much more content in my life. And working through these can really help old patterns of behavior that got you where you are now, but may not serve you in future relationships. Now, I'm not saying don't be nice to people, don't be a people pleaser. That's fine, but don't do it to the extreme where you're giving, pleasing, with nothing in return other than perhaps abuse, rejection, no reciprocity. That's not healthy. And that's what I wanted to share with you today on the podcast. The journey I've been through has been an incredible journey. Not everybody's understood it, and that's okay. But I've understood it. And I'm continuing to discover things. I'm now looking more into internal family systems, which is a great piece of work that aligns with some work that I did in the past in respect to clear beliefs coaching, because I'm a certified coach with clear beliefs, and how we all have different parts of us, and recognizing those parts of us and giving those parts of us a chance to speak and share with us what's really going on, realizing that we're made up of many different pieces, and some of those pieces are suppressed within us. We don't want to go there, or we don't want to deal with it. Some take over. It's just an incredible area of study. And in the future podcasts, I want to talk more about internal family systems and what and how you can use that to heal yourself as you go through a journey, especially if you've been through one that's been highly toxic, abusive, where there's been lies, manipulation, and just mixed messaging, and giving up too much of yourself to try to please the other individual. Thanks for listening.